My mother-in-law unfortunately passed away a couple months ago before I could even find out that she was the reason why I had so many miscarriages. Okay, to give you guys a little bit of backstory to this really, really crazy story, my mother-in-law, just like any other mother-in-law, has never ever liked me. But at the same time, I never thought that she would go through these lengths in order to hurt me as bad as she did. So let's just say that throughout the years, my mother-in-law has done a lot of petty shit to me. She has always voiced that she never liked me, and she never really had a reason. She just said she didn't like me. I took her son. Whatever. But my biggest thing is when my husband and I got engaged, she ruined the engagement party. She started to get really drunk. She just started to go off on my entire family. So we did not enjoy my engagement party. And then it came to my wedding. She was the first one to get up after they asked if anyone objected to our wedding. And she said yes, that she did not like me, that she wished all the worst things on us and that it was never going to work out. But of course it did, because my husband and I have been together for quite some time. I did avoid going to my mother-in-law's house as much as I could. We only went over just to see her for a couple hours, and then we went home, and this was maybe once a month, because whenever the fuck you would show up, she would just be fucking obnoxious, and I just could not deal with it. Now, my mother-in-law's demeanor completely changed after she found out that my husband and I were expecting. She was so sweet. She was buying me stuff for the baby. She was continuously rubbing my belly. She wanted to have tea nights where I would just go over and we could watch a movie and have tea, because apparently tea was her thing, which I knew nothing about until obviously I got pregnant and she invited me over for tea. I took it. I was not going to say no because I wanted to make sure that I can get along with her. Because if I was expecting, eventually I would need my mother-in-law. So shortly after visiting my mother-in-law, I started to feel really sick. I was not sure what was going on with me, so I did go to the doctor. Unfortunately, they said that I had a miscarriage, so I was no longer pregnant. I had no idea what the fuck happened. I was not working at the time. I was not stressed. I was fine. I was taking care of myself so that I could make sure I had a healthy baby. And so, of course, my husband and I waited about 6 months after that miscarriage, and then I got pregnant again. Luckily, my mother-in-law, again, was very happy. She was there for me. She kept reminding me to go over for tea time so that I could spend time with her, and that's exactly what I did. And then again, I'm going to say, I don't know, within a couple days, I started bleeding really bad. Went back to the doctor. They told me that I had another miscarriage, and I just didn't know what was going on. I was honestly afraid to get pregnant again. Because my husband and I really wanted a baby, we tried again. This time, I was not going to get close to absolutely anyone because I did not want to risk having another miscarriage. Okay, because it's just weird that all of a sudden I was having miscarriages back to back. So I stayed at home. I didn't go anywhere. My mother-in-law was calling me, telling me, hey, come have tea time. And I said, no, I'm not coming over. I'm sorry, but this time I need lots of rest and I'm not going to be near absolutely anyone. So no, thank you. She decided to get really mad at me, and she just showed up to my house after I said no, I wasn't going to go to her house for tea time. She came to my house, brought the tea, and of course, that was my mother-in-law. I decided I was going to sit down and just have tea with her. Okay, like that's a simple fucking thing to do, is just sit there and drink tea. So I said, okay, whatever. I sat there, drank tea. Kid you not, a couple days later, I start feeling really, really sick. I go to the hospital again. They tell me, I'm sorry, you had another miscarriage. At this point, I can't tell you guys how frustrated and pissed the fuck off I was, because what is going on with my body? I thought it was me. I told my husband, I'm sorry, but at this point, let's adopt, let's do something else, because I don't trust that I'm going to be able to actually carry a baby for you. Like, this makes me look really bad as a female. And I know it sounds stupid, but if you can't give a baby to your fucking significant other, then what the fuck, you know? And I've never had problems, so I should have been able to. So my husband and I decide just to leave it. A couple years go by. I ended up getting pregnant again. I stayed at home. My husband stayed at home. He actually took a lot of time off because he didn't want the same thing to happen. I was continuously getting checked to make sure everything was fine. And then my mother-in-law calls again. In those years that I was not trying to have a baby, she would not reach out to me. She would not say shit. But then all of a sudden I got pregnant again and she was calling me like crazy. She called me, asked if she could come over, if I can go over to have tea time. I said, no, thank you. I'm going to be staying at my mom's house. I don't need you coming over here. Give me some fucking space. Okay. By some miracle, that entire pregnancy was totally fine. No issues, no complications, no nothing. So I was very, very happy. And I just thought that previous miscarriages were just due to bad luck, or it was just my body in general telling me that I was just not ready. Tell me why, after my husband and I have our baby, my mother-in-law is absolutely nowhere to be seen. But when she first found out that I was pregnant the last 3 or 4 times, she was continuously there. She was always calling me. She always wanted tea time. She wanted to go get her nails done. So to me, extremely strange. But if you don't want to be around my child, that's perfectly fine with me. And then unfortunately, 2 months ago, we get a phone call from a family member telling us that my husband's mom, my mother-in-law, had passed away. Mind you, this lady never had any health issues. She was extremely healthy, like the healthiest person that I knew. I kid you not. So yeah, this came as a shock to all of us. And we just wanted to figure out why. What the fuck happened? But no one had any answers for us. They just said natural causes. That's pretty much all they could tell us. Whatever. Because she left the house to my husband, we had to basically wait to grieve. We had to go over to her house to make sure that all the food that was in the cabinets and in the fridge was clear. Because we were not going to stay there, we needed to make sure that there was going to be no mice or, nasty bugs in there. My mom decided to join us so that we could hurry up and clean the house. And she actually is going through the cabinets. She holds up a bag of the tea that my mother-in-law was giving me throughout all my pregnancies. And she makes a comment and says, wait, whenever you said that you were having tea time with your mother-in-law, was she giving you this? And just, wave the little bag. And I'm like, yeah, that's what she was giving me. Why? She said, you're not supposed to take this when you're pregnant. This actually causes for you to have a fucking miscarriage. So that's probably why you had all of the miscarriages that you did. I got so sick after my mom made that comment. I just fell to the ground. I started crying. And then my husband runs out of his mom's room into the kitchen, and my mom tells him exactly what she told me. My husband just looked shocked. He looked around and said, I don't think my mom would have the heart to do something like that to us. There's no way in hell. I am trying to think the same as my husband, as in, no, my mother-in-law would never fucking do that shit to me, right? But as we start going through her fucking phone, she got on this WhatsApp and was talking to this random fucking person. I have no idea who it was. There was just a picture and it was just herbs on the photo. And just going through the conversation, she was buying a lot of this tea. And in that conversation, the lady was like, why do you need so much tea? What are you doing with it? And she's like, well, my daughter-in-law is currently pregnant and I want to make sure that she's not able to actually have the baby. I want to make sure that she has a miscarriage. So yeah, my mother-in-law was actually planning for me to have all the miscarriages that I actually did. It is very unfortunate that I found out after the fact, because there's nothing that I can do now. She passed away, she's gone, and it's not like I can run to the police station and be like, hey, here's all the proof that my mother-in-law caused my fucking miscarriages. My husband obviously was very disappointed. He felt really bad because at first he didn't believe it until we found those text messages to that fucking lady. So yeah, that is my crazy fucking story as to how my mother-in-law caused all of my miscarriages.
Tell me you have a toxic mother-in-law from hell without telling me you have a toxic mother-in-law from hell. I'll go first. If your mother-in-law doesn't like you before you're married, nothing that you do is ever going to be enough for her. Not you fixing her papers, not you giving her the only grandchildren, nothing that you do, not you taking care of her when she breaks her ankle and nobody else is there to help. My husband and I got married August 15th of 2015. We're Hispanic, we're Mexican to be exact. And for us, getting married through the Roman Catholic Church is a big deal. While we were at the wedding venue reception, it was time to do the bouquet toss. And like every bride, I got in a chair. The single ladies, they all formed in the back. And usually when you do the bouquet toss, you toss it at the count of 3. Well, being the bride that I was, I wanted to do something different. So instead of tossing the bouquet at the count of 3, I tossed the bouquet at the count of 2. When I tossed the bouquet, the person that captured the bouquet happened to be my younger sister. And, well, everybody, cheered, clapped. My mother-in-law walked over, ex-mother-in-law, walked over, and she was like, that doesn't count. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, it doesn't count. You're supposed to toss it at the count of 3, not at the count of 2. You have to do it again. And I felt bad because my sister was the one that had captured the bouquet. How was I going to tell her, hey, it didn't count. We have to do it again. So one of my aunts on my mother's side attended my wedding. My mother wasn't there. She was living in Mexico at the time. So my aunt approached me and she told me, you know what, Yamilet, this is your wedding. You do what you want, not what anybody else wants. You get to decide what to do. If you want to toss the bouquet again and wait till the count of 3, or if you want to leave it as is, just how you threw the bouquet at the count of 2, that's fine too. So I decided that I was going to leave it as is. I was not going to toss the bouquet again because there was no point. Somebody had already captured it, and it was my decision to toss it at the count of 2. Well, all hell broke loose. My ex-mother-in-law got super upset. She started raising her voice. She started yelling things, causing a scene to we had a little over 100 guests. Everybody was looking. It was like she was being so loud. Finally, I decided to get up and approach her, and I told her why are you doing this? This is our special day. This is supposed to be something memorable. Why are you causing a scene? This is not fair. And she just went on making passive aggressive comments, saying how if I was going to listen to my aunt, that I should go with my aunt, and that my aunt should just help me babysit the children so that we can go on our honeymoon, and that she was no longer going to babysit my children because apparently I was going to listen to my aunt more than to her. And she just continued and went on and on and on. At the time, my husband and I, we were living on our own. We had 2 children, my 5-year-old daughter and my 1-year-old son. My in-laws, ex-in-laws, were supposed to care for the children while my husband and I went on our honeymoon. I remember that they did a mother-son dance, and I remember my husband telling her, Mom, why are you doing this? This is my wedding. This is a special day for me. And he started crying and she started crying. She never apologized. I remember we went on our honeymoon, and one of my cousins helped us watch the children for our honeymoon. And keep in mind, this was not the first time that she caused a scene. When my husband and I married through the court, about 5 years prior to our church wedding, she also caused a scene, and she was trying to get my mom kicked out of my wedding. And she also caused a scene when I gave birth to my daughter at the hospital. That's just one of the few things, or many things, that she did during the time that I was married to my husband.
Hi, I have a mother-in-law from hell, and I'm going to tell you about it. So in my last video, I showed screenshots of the text argument that was really just me and my mother-in-law. But my husband was part of the group text message chat that it was in. So after the fact, we did not speak to her, no contact, nothing. Obviously, we were getting married in October, and it was at that point late September, I think. However, she knew the date, the time, the place, the plan, everything about the wedding. Excuse me. So I told my husband it would make me feel a little bit better if you texted your mom and you told her, just to be clear, you're no longer invited to the wedding. Please don't show up. Which I feel so bad for my husband for this, because I don't think you ever picture your wedding day without one of your parents. And it's just sad that it had to come to that. So my husband ends up texting her and just says that, just to be on the same page, you're not invited to the wedding. And she responds, I figured that was already a given. And this really triggered my husband. Apparently this is something she said a lot whenever they would get in arguments when he was growing up. And that phrase triggers him. So whatever, we live our lives, we get married. It's a beautiful, perfect day. I can tell though that my sister-in-law and maybe my brother-in-law are a little off put by the fact that their mother isn't there. And I can understand that. And I feel bad that they were put in a situation where they kind of had to choose. We make the best of our wedding. A month later, we go to my father-in-law's wedding. He gets remarried. My mother-in-law happened to go out of town for that, so shocker. Everything's normal. We go on about our lives. We go on about my horrible, sick-ass pregnancy. Taking care of a toddler and being sick because you're pregnant is hell on earth. Everything's going well, but our friend Zach had been diagnosed with a very rare bone cancer, and it was progressing, and it was really, really hard to watch. Sorry, trying not to cry. Fuck. Zach had beat his cancer, but sadly it had come back. This is a bone cancer that they've really only ever seen in children, but Zach had it, and it was aggressive. And February of 2024, he passed away. Obviously, I'm pretty far into my pregnancy at this point, but my husband and I go to the funeral. My husband is very involved in a funeral. It is feels like an entire day thing. And we are both, we were both very, very emotional about it. When you have someone die, it really, really puts things into perspective of is it really a big deal? Is it really worth not having somebody in your life? As it so happens, before the funeral, my husband gets a text that says, "I really want to sit down and talk to you guys." And it's from my mother-in-law. And it was a text that came in between him passing away and the funeral. And as I said, my husband and I were both very emotionally raw, is the only way I know to put it. And we agreed to talk to her, I think, a day or two after the funeral. I don't know if this was the plan for her. She saw a chance for, at the very least, my husband to be emotionally vulnerable and thought that she had the perfect opportunity to try to make amends. I don't know. But my husband was very optimistic that maybe things could be mended, that she would come in apologetic and we could mend the relationship and move forward. It is February. I am probably, 7 months pregnant. I'm pretty far along. I have a belly. She knows I'm pregnant, right? She comes in. She does not look at me. She also comes in arms full, up past her head, arms full of gifts. Mind you, I had asked my mom to take our son for the weekend because honestly, I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of seeing my son, possibly getting to play with him, and I didn't want him to possibly witness an argument. I don't want my son around yelling or fighting or anything like that, and I thought it was best that he was gone. When she walks in and doesn't see my son, I see that she's upset by this. And am I shocked? No. But anyways, she does not acknowledge me. She calls my dog fat. My dog is getting older and she had a leg surgery and it's hard for her to move. And I'm very sensitive about my dog. Don't talk about my fucking dog. Anyways, she comes in, she sits down on the far end of the couch. I am on the love seat. So we are as far away from each other as we can be in this seating situation. My husband sits on the opposite end of the couch from her, and he's basically next to me. I am sipping on my water, eating my saltine crackers, living my pregnant ass life. They start having a conversation, and she starts it off by saying, "Look, I don't want to fight with y'all. I just want a relationship with my grandkids." This really upset my husband because he felt like, one, she doesn't want a relationship with him, and number two, how on earth could you possibly think that you're going to have a relationship with your grandkids and not with your son and your daughter-in-law? Realistically, how does that fucking work? I have the entire conversation recorded. I think it's a 45-minute video, and I recorded it because she, if you've listened to my other videos, has a really bad history of making up conversations, spinning conversations, saying things happened that didn't happen, and I wanted a full video so she couldn't say she didn't say something or say that I did say something. I just wanted proof. I'm not going to post any clips of it. I haven't listened to it since the week that conversation happened. And when I would listen to it, I would just like uncontrollably shake with the amount of anger I had. What I will say is it was a pointless fucking conversation. She did not come in apologetic for anything. When anything was brought up about what she did to me specifically regarding accusing me of sleeping with my father-in-law, she just said, next time I hear something, I just won't say anything. Mind you, I'm not from the town that this rumor started at. Like, nobody knew who I was. Nobody knew anything about me. How the fuck are there rumors about me? Second of all, that wasn't the point. I don't think she heard it from anybody. I think she made it up to cause drama. And because she saw my husband being gone at boot camp as the perfect opportunity to try to split us up because we can't communicate. I digress. Important bits of that conversation were that she doesn't like me because I'm so disrespectful. Obviously, you don't know me. I'm a girl making a TikTok video. But I'm not disrespectful unless you give me a reason to be. I don't believe in respecting my elders for no fucking reason. My husband moved in with his mom after he got out of the military. I moved back in with my parents after I went through a shitty ass relationship and got dumped, whatever. That's a whole nother story. We both lived with our parents. It is what it is. She had a rule that he could not have a girl sleep in his bed. Nobody could stay the night in his bed. She had this rule with his ex as well. It is what it is. I don't care. It's your house. It's your rules. However, when my husband, at the time boyfriend, told me she had this rule, I had the money and I just got a hotel room. And I'm going to be honest, a big part of it was because I found a ocean view hotel room for $80. Why wouldn't I take that? Instead of sleeping on a leather couch in December. Okay? She claims that when I was told about this rule, that I said, I'm not sleeping on a fucking couch. I didn't say that.
All right. I have a great monster-in-law story for my mother-in-law because I've seen a few people posting these and I thought I should jump on the trend. This is probably my favorite one out of the many I have. So, I'm a photographer and I do a few weddings, and I knew a bit about wedding venues in the town we used to live in. I'm close to my in-laws. So my mother-in-law was planning a vow renewal party, which was pretty much just like a fake wedding, for the wedding that she believed she'd ever got. They'd been married for like 25 years, and she wanted to now drop like 30 grand into an extravagant fake wedding. So she calls me one day wanting advice about these venues, which I was fine. I was happy to talk to her, tell her what I thought about all of them. And towards the end of the conversation, I asked her, like, so when is this party going to be anyway? And she laughs and says, oh, funny you ask, actually. It's going to be on Honor's birthday. That's my youngest son, and it was going to be his first birthday. I was a little shocked. I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, we decided we're going to do it on Saturday, February 3rd. And I didn't say anything at the time. I was just a little confused. I was like, I'll talk to my husband about it and see what he has to say. So got off the phone later that day. I brought it up with him. And he's like, oh, I'm sure it's just some misunderstanding. It's fine. I'm sure we can, like, still celebrate our son. Like, we'll have a cake for him at their party or something. And I was willing to compromise and figure out something that worked. But I was also very confused. Like, why would you take your grandson's first birthday? So we met up with him a few days later at the park and decided to bring it up. And she full on was like, no. My husband was like, hey, what if we, bring a cake along and sing happy birthday to him? And she was like, no, this is my event. We're not singing happy birthday to honor. And I was like, this is weird. And he's like, well, what if we just like, I don't know, like had his birthday party like in the morning and then your event in the evening? And she's like, no, I'm going to be getting ready all day. That's my day. You guys are going to have to choose a different day for his birthday. Oh, and by the way, you better start finding a babysitter because I'm not allowing any children at my event. And I was like, what? She was like, yeah, it's an adults only event and I'm not allowing kids. I was so confused. I'm like, you were a grandmother. You wouldn't want to celebrate it with all your grandchildren and your children? It's a fake wedding. I mean, and I looked at her and I was like, we've never hired a babysitter before. Our children have only been with us. I was like, and I don't want to leave him on his first birthday, like with a stranger. I was like, if kids can't come, that's fine, but I'll probably stay home with him. I don't think I'm going to be able to go. And she's like, no, you guys are attending and you will find a babysitter. This is the way it's going to be. And I was like, I think this is our choice. Anyway, it was very tense. She left. She didn't want to talk anymore. She was very upset. We tried to have more conversations with her and she refused to budge. I was just so baffled. So their wedding anniversary is February 4th. Our son's birthday is February 3rd. And in my mind, I'm like, if you're planning this event, months in advance, it's an event that never existed until you decided you wanted a vow renewal. My son's birthday just exists. It's just the way it is. In my mind, I'm like, you could use the weekend after, the weekend before. Like, why does it have to be that day? I even told her, why not have your vow renewal on Sunday and we'll just have his birthday on Saturday, on his actual day? She refused. And she was like, no, there's people that are going to be coming in from out of town and it would be more convenient for them to come to a party on a Saturday than on a Sunday. I was like, well, yeah, I'm not going to tell you have to pick a different day, but I can say that I won't be there. And I told my husband, I was like, you can go if you want to. I was like, I think it should be our choice if we spend that day with our son or not. I'll be with my son. You can go if you want. And he's like, no, I'll stay home with Honor too. I don't need to go to their vow renewal. She threw a fit. It was a whole thing. His sister called him at one point, like pretty much telling him he needed to divorce me because I was tearing up their family by choosing not to go to her party. And like, it was just too many things. I held my ground and I was like, this is a very defining moment that no one else is going to choose my child. Not this extended family, nobody. It's me. If I don't choose my own children, nobody else will. And nobody else gets to tell me how and when and why I will choose my own kids, but I will. They are 110% going to be my priority and the most important thing to me. They always were, and they always will be. And sadly, we ended up having to get a divorce. It's still not final, as you may have seen in my other videos. And my husband couldn't ever choose me and his children. He's very self-absorbed, and I think he learned that from his mom. I think he learned that from his family dynamic. They had a lot of weird stuff going on. And yeah, there were no boundaries in that family. They ended up canceling the vow renewal and blamed me because I didn't want to go. I don't know why they canceled it. They could have still had it. It was fine. I was just not going to be there. My theory is that they canceled it because they would have had to explain to their friends and extended family why I wasn't there. And it would have looked really weird that his mom purposely planned it on her grandchild's first birthday and refused to allow her kids there or her grandchildren there, refused to change the date or accommodate us in any way. It was all about her and her fake wedding. So, yeah, it's pretty sad.